Grief is everywhere these days. You can't miss it. So if you're in the throes of grief right now, you're certainly not alone. Even before COVID-19 hit, a young journalist told me that grief is the national state of consciousness. When he said it, it struck me as such an awful truth. We're experiencing so many losses right now that grief is nearly all most of us can feel, think, or talk about. But you know, there's something in all this grief to celebrate too. And let me explain before you throw a shoe at your screen. Grief isn't just something that happens to us whenever trauma strikes. Our lives are a series of perpetual changes, changes that breed loss, and loss that breeds grief. And so it goes. As human beings, grief is a given, as much a part of us as blood or bones. And only when we make peace about the fact that grief is always with us can we use our grief as a creative life force for healing. A creative life force for healing. Perhaps it's a ridiculous proposition. Grief hurts. Grief sometimes threatens to break our hearts and minds into a million shard-like pieces. Grief comes when loved ones die or disappear, or when they leave, lie to, or betray us. Grief comes with violence, loneliness, isolation. It comes with broken hopes or dreams, life-threatening illness, fire, flood, or a system of injustice. Grief comes whenever we lose what we love. Love and change, in fact, are grief's essential ingredients. So it's no wonder that this Jesus of Nazareth we follow is known as a man of sorrows. Jesus embodied love as no other. He used love as a catalyst of change. So for Jesus, it's a double whammy. With love and change as his mantras, Jesus had no choice but to be a man of sorrows. Fortunately, Jesus knew how to use his grief as a creative life force for healing. And he showed us how in so many ways. Jesus wept over the deaths of friends and family members. He lamented whenever people were incapable of love or change. He sometimes got angry with his grief that motivated him in his ministry. And when he felt like death, he went into the garden alone to pray and seek God's companionship. Even as he journeyed toward his crucifixion, he received the healing touch of a woman who anointed him with oil. And he created a feast of spiritual communion with his disciples. In his darkest moments, Jesus spoke of joy, hope, faith, love. And when he learned that his beloved friend and cousin John the Baptist was beheaded, Jesus went off in a boat alone to be with his grief. And then his grief moved him with compassion, spurred him into action. Jesus came ashore to heal the people who flocked to him there. He invited the people to stay and provided food for the body and nourishment for the soul. These are some of the ways that Jesus used his grief as a creative life force for healing. Today, when we're so aware of grief touching everyone in our world, including ourselves, may we strive always to do the same. Amen.